Okay, so I debated on whether or not to post this video at all. Just seeing like the state of the comic book industry post global pandemic with looming global depression. Like it's amazing how like a New Warriors book has become like the I don't know, linchpin, the spark that seems to be making things explode. But I'm seeing comic book creators calling for other people to lose their jobs, which is amazing to me. People are losing their jobs left and right now. We are at the very least going to enter a recession, if not a global depression. And your petty nonsense on Twitter that isn't even reflective of how the real Twitter is not the real world, folks. It's not. It's not. Your petty opinions mean nothing. And you're wishing for people to lose their jobs. The fact that comic book pros are wishing for other comic book pros to lose their job, to lose their livelihood, is amazing. Do you not understand that the comic book industry probably won't survive this? Comic shops were already going out of business left and right, and you think that they're going to survive this? Small business owners, folks. People who never made much more than an honest living, but they got the privilege of selling comic books. And the thing that drives me crazy is that comic book creators have lost sight of the fact that it is a privilege to be part of, or it used to be a privilege to be a part of this industry. Now it's a mess. And we talked about the New Warriors thing. I am a New Warriors fan. I've been a New Warriors fan since 91, 92. I don't know the exact year. In the previous episode that I posted, I think I mentioned issue 17. I'm pretty sure it was my first one, so whenever that came out, I don't know. But I've been a New Warriors fan for a long time. I'm a grown man with a New Warriors poster literally over my right shoulder right now. And I keep it there because I love that piece of art. I mean, I'm not a fanatic, I don't have like a New Warriors altar, but I do have a Starman altar, though. Anyway, so I debated on whether or not to post this video, but I am going to post it. We tried to stay objective in what we said. I don't want this channel to be negative. I want to talk about things that I like, and that's why I'm doing back issue roulette, because I want to talk about things that I like. I don't want to talk about things that annoy me or that upset me. But so warning. So this is, I mean, the title's going to be, a New Warriors fan discusses the New Warriors. Anyway, but yeah, we try to keep it reasonable. I think we did. And I hope whatever comments are here are also reasonable and rational. It's the internet, it's YouTube, so probably not. But, alright, so, thank you. Yeah, so if you're already like, oh, let me turn this off, we are not going to be ranting about it the way a lot of people have been. Which isn't to say that I like it. You actually contacted me when you saw it, and I am an old school New Warriors fan.
Thought it was a joke, most like other people. Actually, I thought because I've seen some certain things from Marvel and other new comic books that have been coming out. And sometimes they get turned into a meme. Right. I thought that was turned into a meme. I thought the two characters, Safe Space and Snowflake, were originally titled something completely different. Because I was like, there's no way that would be real.
Well, to be fair, it's all the characters that look awful, all the new characters. But let me just start by saying I'm an old school New Warriors fan. I actually, Yes, I'm a grown man. You can't see it, but actually, let me see if I can move the. That's a Derek Robertson New Warriors.
Yeah, such a cool poster.
Yeah, big fan of the old school New Warriors. I stopped reading with issue 50. I did not read from the first issue. I picked it up later. I think like it had already started around the time I was getting into comics, and there's so many in the 90s. There was so many comics coming out. It's kind of, and I was a Marvel kid, you know, but Marvel had so much coming out. It was kind of hard to keep up.
The shelves. It's their business tactic.
Right.
Flooding the shelves.
It was around back then too. And like I got hooked on this because Mark Bagley at the time, who is still my favorite Spider-Man artist, like his art isn't what it was 30 years ago, but like whose is, you know, it's hard to.
Yeah. Well, when I think like Mark Bagley, I actually go to Ultimate Spider-Man and think about his work on that.
A lot of people do, but you're a few years younger than me. So at the time, Mark Bagley was doing, I think, 2 issues of Spider-Man a month, in addition to doing New Warriors. That's how fast this dude was. He was doing both. Now, after issue 25, he told him, like, I can't do this anymore. But he did 25 issues, and this was monthly, so that's 2 years. You know? Now, there were other Spider-Man artists at the time. I'm sure there were, like, fill-ins and stuff like that, but Mark Bagley, I mean, just to do, you're a comic book artist. Can you imagine doing 2, at the time, probably, like, 26-page comics a month?
I have a trouble just doing 1 book a month.
Probably not something you should say on the internet, but I know what you mean. Like it's different. Like people don't understand how much work goes into, and also it's a little different now because you also ink your own work. Like back then, that is one thing to point out that Mark Bagley was not inking this. He was,
and I was going to say that there's a lot of these guys, especially in the older days of comics, especially if they penciled. Sometimes they would even have people come in to do finishes.
Yeah,
which is basically kind of complete the pages. I've heard stories about even Jim Lee wouldn't draw in Wolverine's claws. He would just draw 3 lines and let the inker draw.
And then Scott Williams would do it. That's probably true. So I'm an old school New Warriors fan, and I'm not outraged by this new iteration. We'll get into it in a second, but the thing I told you was this is just like the last stop in Marvel destroying the brand of New Warriors, which only matters to a handful of people. The New Warriors is not the Avengers.
Well, real quick, something else to point out that I don't think a lot of people have been talking about. This is a mini-series, by the way. It's a 5-issue mini-series.
A lot of the New Warriors runs over the last 20 years have been, though. The Scotty Young one was.
The way it's been talked about, they're talking about this is going to be like a long-term thing. Mm-hmm. And it's a mini-series. It's supposed to tie into one of their other event. I think it's called Outlaw or something like that.
It's Junior Civil War.
Yeah.
So the idea with this is that the New Warriors, now the authority figures, like the whole point of the New Warriors was the Avengers wouldn't let them in. So Night Thrasher gets all these really cool characters that no one was using, and says like.
Really cool characters like Speedball?
Speedball wasn't cool at the time. Speedball was badass by a few issues in. Nova.
Yeah, you say that, but like Speedball.
Speedball was cool. He was the embodiment of motion. Mm-hmm. They look. Trust an old school New Warriors fan. Trust an old warrior. Okay. No, but so he goes to these characters and he's like, look, screw the Avengers. Like, come with me and we'll be the New Warriors. We'll make our own name. And it's a great book that did things that like blew your mind. So this is a spoiler, but screw it. One of the main characters who later became an Avenger, Vance Astrovic, he was going by Marvel Boy at the time because they couldn't come up with a good name for him. And later they came up with Justice, which was not a great name, kind of hacky, but his father beats him throughout the book in the first 25 issues. His father's constantly beating him. And
he actually isn't there like a standalone book where he deals with, or 2 issues or so where he deals with that.
There was a miniseries and there were 2 issues where he was in prison.
Yeah,
but that was after Derek Robertson took over. but yeah, so his father beats him because he's different and he's a mutant. And so he ends up, by accident, lashing out and murdering his father. It's total manslaughter, but there's this whole trial. And, like, you see, like, his mother turns on him. Like, it's, like, they got into some crazy stuff. Really, really amazing book. Derek Robertson took over after Mark Bagley. And Fabian Nicieza, I haven't mentioned his name yet, but Fabian Nicieza was a big 90s writer. Wrote some really incredible runs on things like X-Force. He's more responsible for X-Force than Rob Liefeld is. I don't care what Rob Liefeld says. Also, Louise Simonson. Got to give a shout out to Louise Simonson, which people forget about her all the time. But anyway, but you know, Fabian Nicieza was the life's blood of this book for 50 issues, and then he kind of figured he said everything he had to say, and he did some crazy stuff. But I fell off after he left, and so since then. New Warriors is one of those books that a certain segment of fans is always asking Marvel, like, when are you going to do New Warriors again? And every time they've done New Warriors, they've crapped on it. My favorite was Mark Miller in Civil War, making them be the joke. They were the butt of the joke in Civil War. Like, oh, these untrained teens. Like, if you read New Warriors, like, saved the universe multiple times. Like, you can't say that they were amateurs. But Mark Miller didn't care. Marvel didn't care at the time. And Marvel still doesn't care. So when you see like this, and now I'll say something positive first off. I don't know if this is the artist that's going to be on the regular book because it looks like R.B. Silva. Okay. So this is okay. So I was looking at the cover, and R.B. Silva,
different cover artist.
I was going to say like the art looks really good, but it's R.B. Silva. To be fair, the art doesn't look horrible.
The cover looks great. I'm not a big fan of the neon colors, and I'll get into that when we dive a little bit deeper.
But I can't say the art looks. But looking at
would I like it without knowing the names of the characters or what's going on, I probably would if I didn't know the character names or what was going on in it, because it's a pretty cool looking cover.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen the interior art? Any of it?
I have seen just of what I've seen with probably everyone else has seen the concept art.
Okay, well go to Marvel.com, Google it real quick. So the interior art, whoever the artist is, isn't bad. I'd say it's good, but it's very much what you would expect from a book like this. I don't know quite how to explain it, but it's a certain style that fits like these kind of social justice-y books. Have you seen it yet?
I don't want to talk too much about the social justice.
Well, no, I'm not trying to bash anybody. I'm just saying it does kind of fit, you know. But when you get down to it,
and it's not petty for me as an artist who would, you know, I would, even though we're trashing a Marvel book, I would love to work professionally for Marvel myself, and you know, it's looking at the art. You know, I'm like, it kind of looks like what I've told you before, like Tumblr art. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think some of the costumes aren't bad. I don't like the concept of screen time, but I like the costume.
That page that we're looking at, the New Warriors, yeah, it's the coloring actually probably saves that page, one page that I see.
Well, the line work's pretty clean. You got to give it to them. The line work's pretty clean. It looks like, you know what it looks like? It might even be the same artist from Squirrel Girl.
No, this one, it looks like this is Ironheart.
Oh, really?
Luciano Vecchio.
Oh, yeah, it says Ironheart there. But yeah, I mean, aside from Snowflake and Safe Space, who we'll get to in a second, a lot of the character designs don't look bad. B Negative isn't a bad design for that character. Trailblazer, I'm not a fan of the coloring. I think,
I'm not a fan of all the neon in here.
Right.
And you know what? And a part of that, especially the greens and stuff, might look like that. I don't know how it's going to look print, just because I have a graphic design print background. Usually when you print these neon colors, they're going to be a lot darker in print. So I don't know if it's made worse by my computer screen or anything, but I really don't.
I think it'll be about the same. So let me say this, because you were talking about, like, you don't want to bash the book, and I'm in agreement with you. I don't want to be like all the people talking about it are like flipping out, and I understand. Like when I heard about Safe Space and Snowflake, I thought it was a joke as well. Like it's
Sure.
But my question is, when I look at things like this, who is this for? Like, it's not for the few fans that actually care about New Warriors. It's not. Like, and so I'm looking at the team. So Daniel Kibblesmith hasn't written a lot. Like when they introduce him in the Marvel article, it says Emmy-nominated writer Daniel Kibblesmith, and it says The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Like, why? Like, don't get me wrong. That's great for him. I know he's also a BuzzFeed writer. That's great for him that he's had a successful career, but that doesn't translate to comic books.
Yeah. And the thing is, not that anyone probably knows him necessarily for that, but Marvel, and this is, I'm purely speculative, that Marvel thinks that grabbing some writers from different fields might have crossover appeal, because I know that they've grabbed some, like, young adult authors and stuff who worked for regular, like, normal books, like, young adult novels, and kind of brought them in to do comics.
Well, I think that's a holdover from the early 2000s when they were bringing in people like Straczynski and Joss Whedon, and like there were many, many others. I'm not just limited to those. There was a lot of people that signed contracts that came from other fields, and it was successful at the time. But like, no offense to Daniel Kibblesmith, but I don't know who you are. I don't read BuzzFeed. I don't, even if I watch the Colbert Report, or it's not the Colbert Report, the Late Night with Stephen Colbert, like, nobody knows the writers on that. So tell me what he's written from comics. But all that aside, my thing is, if you want to come out with a book like this, fine. So like I saw somebody ranting about another Miss America America Chavez book. And I'm like, well, that's fine. If they want to put that out, like, that's just because it's not for me doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't ruin anything. Like, but when you're using the New Warriors name, I'm sorry.
It's another one that's just going to be a mini series.
Right, but I'm saying just name it something else. It doesn't have to be the New Warriors. Like, just like, why can't this team have its own identity? And again, it doesn't ruin my childhood. I'm not bitching about them coming out with it. Like, I'm at the point where
it doesn't erase those comics.
Right. And any more than, and again, I pointed this out earlier. This isn't the first time Marvel's screwed up a take on New Warriors. You can't pretend, like, the people who are saying this, honestly, most of the people that are outraged aren't New Warriors fans. Because, like I said, like, the one that pissed me off was Mark Millar in Civil War. That's the one where if you were really a New Warriors fan, that was the one that you were like, really? And the take before that, where they became like this joke of reality TV stars. Like, that was the miniseries that came out before Civil War. So, like, like, I'm not going to be outraged by this, especially now, like with what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Like,
okay, Marvel's putting this out, and, but that's what I told you when you were, and you weren't outraged either. You were just like, hey, did you see this? And I was like, yeah,
I just think it's poor naming. I've seen a lot of the memes of, was it Steve Buscemi dressed up as a kid and says, hello, fellow kids, like just trying to appeal to...
Yeah, from not another teen movie.
Let me ask you this. If just ignore what we already know about it, if you had seen those character designs and they at least had better names, would you still feel the same way? Like, I don't... Obviously, no. I think the what makes it a joke is the Safe Space and Snowflake thing.
I don't like the costumes. I don't like the character designs either. I think... I mean, I'm not saying that they're outright bad. I'm not saying there's nothing to them. But they're not good designs. Like, they look like cheap Halloween costumes of like Tron.
And what was funny is I watched that video for that Daniel Kibblesmith put out when he was promoting the book.
Right.
And he was talking about how the designs were inspired by the older costumes of the New Warriors, and all their costumes are different. Because these kind of look uniform in the way they look in terms of the way they're styled, kind of all look uniform together in some ways.
You know what's funny? What puts a lot of that is, like, the very article that has that video is you can see the old school New Warriors if you move up. Well, they changed some of their costumes. Namorita's costume's a little different. Huh?
I love Night Thrasher the way he looks. Speedball actually looks pretty cool. I like the design they went with.
Yeah, he looks pretty young, but it's a streamlined version of his old costume. But there's nothing in common with those costumes, so you can't really say they're inspired by anything.
Yeah, they all really look uniform, except for B negative. Kind of looks a little different because he's wearing that vest. It kind of has like those 90s belts going on, which actually goes with the character because the character is supposed to be inspired by Mobius or something in terms of like a blood transfusion, right?
Right, Morbius. They're saying that's what the rumor is that's what Daniel Kibblesmith said. So it might. I'm guessing that it's going to turn out that he's not a Morbius.
Yeah.
Knockoff, but look. The only thing I don't like on the B negative design is the little belt. It doesn't have any function. It does look very 90s, but
well, that's part of the character. The characters are supposed to be one of these characters that was it Born in the Wrong Decade type of deal?
But he's emo.
What was that?
But he's emo.
The character and the way the description is from the video and what I've seen on the front page here, that they're talking that loves the music of the 90s and the 2000s.
Well, fair enough. I mean, look, it's nitpicking anyway. Again, I don't...
Emo was a big thing in the mid-2000s, I guess.
Yeah.
Early mid.
Again, I also like Screen Time's costume to a degree, though I do think the internet gas thing... I guess you could argue that's a very 90s thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. But at the end of the day, like, Snowflake and Safe Space kind of... It's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
And you can't... Here's the thing. Like, I listened to the video. Daniel Kibblesmith has clearly indicated that he wants to have this book have a message. Fine. Here's the thing about people who create art that want to have a message. When you're creating art, the art has to come first. When you see a comedian on stage and they take a moment to make some point about whatever it is, whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it, if they don't have a solid joke for that point, then you've destroyed your act. Not totally, but you've interrupted the flow. And it's the same thing with this. Like, the art has to come first. There's no, like, you want to say Trailblazer, obviously she's overweight, you're trying to make a point. Okay, maybe it's a cool character. I don't know, I haven't read it. I don't like the costume design, but maybe so. Be negative. Yeah. There's things that I like about the costume design, like whatever. But when you get to Snowflake and Safe Space, the costumes aren't good. The names aren't good. The whole concept, it just feels like in the middle of all these other characters, there's this one moment where, like, we're going to make a point.
Also, I think this might be the fault of the artist. And the reason I say that is because in that video, Daniel Kim was talking about, like, when he was talking about Safe Space, he's like, it's a typical jock butch character or whatever. I almost think he gave that character description to the artist, and the artist kind of just came up with what we see now, which is not what Daniel Kibblesmith is talking about.
No, it's very effeminate. It's pink. He's wearing, like, booty shorts. And now, granted, I get that it matches Snowflake, but, honestly, as much as I don't like either one, the light blue for Snowflake actually works way better than the Safe Space one.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, like, it's too neon. They're both neon, but...
Something with modern comics and colors wanting to use neon colors for some reason, that I've been noticing a lot. It kind of hurts my eyes just looking at it. It might be because of the screen. But there's a book I was telling you about from Dark Horse called No One Left to Fight. And just like the pages and the cover, everything is like fuchsia and pink and all this other stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And it kind of takes away from the art.
Because it hurts your eyes.
Yeah. It's too much.
Here's the bottom line for me is, and I said from the beginning, like, we don't want to just bash this book. Because, A, we haven't read it. Well, all we've seen is what they've shown us.
Here's the thing, we haven't seen actual, real interior pages with, like, finished letters with the word book and everything on it. Because all we see is that one New Warriors page where you see the whole team and Trailblazer in the corner. But I'll be honest, looking at this and the way the color is on this, the color really saves the art and makes it really pop. And I'm not talking about any of the neon stuff, because I'm just saying the way in which this is colored is really well done and looks good. But I have no way of telling, if it actually is written well or anything, or if it's really conveying what it's trying to accomplish with this message that Daniel Kibblesmith has. I wouldn't know unless I actually read the book when it comes out. I can tell you right now, I would not pay for it.
Right. But that's the thing.
It sounds like I'm going to try and steal it online. If it comes up on Comixology or something for free.
No. I know what you're saying. You're not advocating stealing. But that's my central point. Is I don't want Marvel to fail. I don't want DC to fail. Like when I talked about being having a problem with Black Label, I grew up, for guys like us, for when we were kids, comic book stores were like our churches. We went there every week, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, because at one point in the 90s there were double shipping, two times a week. And we love comic shops. I worked in one, and I don't want to see those go. I don't want to see comic books go away. So when I criticize this stuff, I'm just saying, hey, Marvel, I don't know what your plans are, but getting rid of people like us, and this isn't getting rid of me. This isn't. I'm not speaking well. I'm just saying, New Warriors. If you're coming out with New Warriors series, I'm the audience, and my niece and nephew, they're the audience because they're the ones I'm going to give it to. This book doesn't look like something I'd spend $5 on, and that's another thing. Is comics are expensive now, so put out better content. And look, if you want to come out with a book for Safe Space and Snowflake, I'm not going to tell you can't do that. I'm not going to tell you I don't like America Chavez, but I'm not going to tell you don't come out with the miniseries that you're coming out with for her. Do it, but don't rename old things because it doesn't work. That trick's been done too many times, and it's not selling. I don't know who it's helping.
Can we go back to the cover they're showing on this website and something about it I've talked to you about, but I just want to say this while we're recording. Was I don't know if they gave character concepts to the cover artist before he actually knew he or she. I don't know who did it. Who's the artist on it?
R.B. Silva.
All right.
R.B. Silva's an X-Men artist, among other things.
Yeah, I don't know if they gave Silva any direction or anything, and he just came up with kind of that collage, superhero collage kind of cover. But Safe Space and Snowflake look like a romantic couple, or at least don't look like brother and sister type of vibe to me. I
do agree. It does. They do, and also, and I'm saying this because it flies in the face of what Daniel Kibblesmith said he wanted. Safe Space looks like a man. He looks very masculine, aside from the pink and the haircut. And then Snowflake looks very much feminized. And when you look at the regular artists, and this is the problem I have with, I'm fine with incentive covers, but don't put an artist like R.B. Silva, no offense to Luciano, whatever.
Yeah, it's two different styles right. Completely.
But R.B. Silva's also a more accomplished artist. He's done a lot more for Marvel,
Yeah.
And so it doesn't do the interior artist a service, and it doesn't do your fans a service because, when you put, I'm just thinking on top of my head, but when you put a Jim Lee cover on a DC comic book and then it's an artist who just started, that's not fair to that artist because you're always going to compare the two.
And also, there's something weird going on with the cover too for me because if you look on the far right, you see B negative is I can't tell if he's coming out of the background with the little tree by his leg. And this is more of an art thing, too. And then there's a hand coming out, two different hands coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can see one of them is definitely Firestar.
Yeah. I don't know what
you know what? You know what it's supposed to be? It's supposed to be Speedball's hand. If you look at the position of his arm and the coloring.
Why would you put that? So confusing. But if you,
granted, I agree, but that's a little nitpicky, yeah. But no, I agree. It does look weird. It does make you kind of try to figure it out.
I understand. Maybe they're trying to say be negative character is like the outsider of it, but to me, just for the cover, they should have put him more closer to center. He's kind of the way he was drawn is more interesting.
That might be a character choice. If he's emo and feels isolated from the group, that might be...
Maybe. That'd be good. That's a lot of storytelling for this one piece.
Right.
Also, I'm trying to understand what the heck's happening at the bottom. Did he just hate feet?
Well, they only had so much space.
I kind of feel like it was... I told you this. When they originally announced this, they showed the top half of that cover.
You feel like they drew in the other characters later.
Yeah.
I agree.
I just thought it was like a bait and switch thing to get people to click, like a clickbait article, because I got really excited when I saw Night Thrasher, and I was like, oh man, that looks really cool. Clicked on it, I was like, oh, it's not really going to be about them, it's a new group. Uh-huh. And this was before they announced who the characters were.
I do want to point one thing out, though. One thing Daniel Kibblesmith said that bothered me was he was like, if you look at the original New Warriors, it was all about diversity. That's half true. Like, we didn't worry about things like that. We just wanted cool characters. And, like, the characters that weren't white, we didn't think about, like, oh, there's a non-white character. You know, Night Thrasher, I was never a fan of the skateboard thing, which was a big part of his character, but I always thought that was a cool design, and it still is. I mean, the design they have here is based off of the original design that, well, I don't know if it was Mark Bagley or somebody else did, but I don't like the Rage design, though. I like the one that came later, but we never thought about those things. We just, like, Fabian Nicieza, who I don't know what his skin color is. I mean, it sounds possibly Native American or possibly Hispanic. He just came out with cool characters. I'm sorry?
I think he's Italian.
Oh, is he? Nicieza?
Nicieza? They are Luciano, sorry.
No, that's Italian. No, I'm talking about the original writer. Okay. He just came out with cool characters, and we didn't worry about what skin color they were or any of that stuff. Like, that, if you make the book good, like, we're going to kind of end it here because we've been going on about this a while, but there's a book...
After all.
No, I think it's valid criticism. We're not overreacting. We're not telling people, like, don't read this book. Or we're not saying Marvel don't come out with it.
I'm sure there's someone out there who actually wants to read this, and more power to them if they do.
But it's not going to be that many people.
Well, here's the thing. Let me ask you this question, because I already told you for myself, I probably won't read this unless I am given some kind of copy, or I can read it very cheaply, like $1. Like if it was like something like $1 special to kind of get me on the first issue or something, I would at least read it to give it a fair swipe at it. But for $5, I wouldn't pick it up. What about you?
If Safe Space and Snowflake had different names, I'd still hate the character designs, but I wouldn't be like... my response wouldn't be, are you serious?
Yeah. And
as it stands, no, I wouldn't. And I've been burnt, like I mentioned many times, I've been burned too many times by New Warriors books. Mm-hmm. And I'm just... I own the New Warriors Omnibus that they came out with, I think 3 years ago, which encompasses the first 25 issues. And if I want to read New Warriors, I can read the books that I like. And this isn't for me. If it is for somebody, I'll apologize. If this book does well, I'll publicly say, hey, I was wrong. I just don't see it.
And I think it's you mentioned several times before because you're a fan, and there's been tons of reboots, not just from Marvel lately, but they've been like, what is it, Thundercats Roar, and I know fans were upset about that. And fans feel like they're just, the old school fans are getting crapped on in a sense, or ridiculed. And I think the thing is for you, do you feel afraid that they're going to do anything to taint your team? Or I don't think that's intentional.
I'm over all of that. Here's the thing. I was about to mention a series on Netflix that I mentioned to you before, The Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
That show is filled with diversity, and you never question it for a second. There's lesbian characters, there's interracial characters, there's all this stuff, but it's done so well. There's never a moment where I go like, I wouldn't show this to a kid or something like that. Not that I'd do that anyway, but like if you do something well, you can have your politics in it, you know. And there's so many things out there that are like, there's no reason not to come out with new concepts at this point. There's artists like yourself, like, dude, I know some of the things that you're itching to work on that you came up with yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, you got to pay the bills first, but, you know, and, you know, you're not getting work from, like, you know, DC or something like that just yet.
Yeah.
You know, even though, like, if Travis is an incredible artist, if you want to check out his stuff. Like, there's people out there with original ideas. Like, you don't have to keep recycling old concepts that you don't even get.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud them for trying something new with that I guess you could say franchise, that team.
You could.
I just don't know what the point is. And you know, ignoring the social aspects of it, I don't really know anything else about what the team's going to be doing outside of it being a tie-in to the Outlawed event, and that they're going to be mentored by the former New Warriors.
Right.
Like, I don't know what's going on. They're saying they're going to tackle some new threat, and I would love a little bit more in that because it's so vague.
Well, you got to read the book to get that.
Yeah, but
my thing is, like, it actually sounds, everything about this book sounds recycled as well. This sounds exactly like Civil War Outlawed does. And then if you look at, what was the...
Well, a lot of superhero books, that, especially team books, they come together to fight a common enemy.
Well, but the concept of this is that the New Warriors are authority figures that have to train the new ones. Which sounds exactly like, not the Academy,
I'm thinking Young Justice and, like Teen Titans type of...
No, it sounds like that book that came out after Civil War, when all the superheroes had to register. It's something with an A. I can't think of the name of it.
Avengers Academy?
No, Avengers Academy was the same concept, but it came out later. The Initiative. It wasn't the A. The Initiative. This book sounds exactly like... Because The Initiative, I don't know if you read any of that stuff. It was a Dan Slott book. But it was really good. And but the whole idea was that you had all these veteran superheroes, usually Avengers, training the next generation of new characters. That's what this is. Like, so, Outlaw's recycled. This is recycled from Initiative. Like, you don't need it. Just, like, if you want these characters to succeed, you know, you're not going to do it by using the New Warriors as a pill, like the honey to swallow the pill. But that's all I have to say about it. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I don't have anything really to say. You know what? I take it back. I will say probably one positive thing is that when I do see at least the one page of the show as a whole together, art-wise, it doesn't look as bad as the concept art. It actually would, if I didn't see the concept art and I saw more of these pages fully colored and lettered, I'd probably be a lot more interested.
Right.
Because, like I said, the coloring actually is great. It makes the art look like really pop. Because it's the same artist who did the concept art. And to be honest, if you show me this page, I keep flipping back between that one page and the concept art. It looks like two different artists almost.
I agree with that, very much so. But, you know, you're an artist, so you know, like, sometimes your thumbnails don't quite...
Oh, yeah.
You know.
And it's kind of harsh to judge some of the concept art, because concept art is supposed to be loose, and me personally, I did some concept art for from Arc World, and that's the Devil's Dupe book that's going to be coming out in April. And those concepts are not my greatest. You know, it's not the greatest thing. If you were going to look at that and judge it solely if that book is going to be good or not, you're probably going to be like, oh, it's going to be okay, or it's not going to look great, because the interiors look completely different than concept art.
Yeah. And
a lot of times you're just trying to get a feel for the character. And I think the biggest complaint I think we can all just agree on it's more so the naming conventions on these characters and internet gas and things like that.
I still don't like the costumes on them either. I think the design. If you were trying to sell this concept to me, the design for Safe Space and Snowflake it's not doing it.
Yeah. So I think we're both in agreement. This is not we will not be reading this one.
No. But if you do, more power to you. I'm not bashing it. I'm not telling you suck or you're not a fan or anything like that. Like, go for it.
I'm not willing to pay for a full price for it at the moment.
Right. And at the end of the day, like I said, I don't know who this book is for.
Yeah, and I would. You can't even say old, former, New Warriors fans because I don't think it captures that same energy. The same feeling. Right.
No, it doesn't. So, all right. Well, I think was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nothing in regard to the two topics we were just talking about now.
No, I know, but like anything else that you all right.
Nothing at the moment. I do have, to kind of plug myself, I do have a book coming out called Arc World from Devil's Due that'll be out in mid-April. I don't have that exact date in front of me, but it'll be coming out. I also have another book I'm going to be, I'm going to be finishing up called Hourglass. That's going to come out through Full Moon Comics, and that's going to be out middle of May as well. I think May 14th or 15th. That's depending if it doesn't get delayed or anything because of coronavirus.
Right. Well, let's hope that all settles out. And
yeah.
I want to be back in comic shops buying some Marvel comic, not this one, but some other Marvel comic or a DC comic or Arc World. So stay safe and hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm sure we're going to get some. We'll probably get hate on both sides for not completely bashing this and not, or
it's already been done. We'll just be repeating what other people have said.
Right. Well, I don't think we did. I think we've been fairly rationally on this. Yeah. But all right. Well, thank you, Travis, and we're gonna do this again. Probably not as much news stuff. Honestly, if I didn't have the Warren Ellis thing, I probably wouldn't have even done this. I just figured we'd combine the two.
Maybe we might talk about stuff that people don't really know about, like how comic book shops actually order their books and why even this coronavirus really affects comic book stores.
I'd love to do that. I think there's a lot of misconceptions that people have about comic book stores, and that's one thing that I hate whenever I see a YouTuber talking about comics. Like, I'm not going to mention the name of the most famous one that gets all the attention, all the negative attention, but before that guy took off, I tried talking to him because I was like, hey man, like, there's things you don't understand about how comics work. And he responded initially, and then he got bigger pretty quickly, and he kind of blew me off. And I'm just like, I don't want to mention his name, but whenever I hear people that don't work in the comic book industry, and I mean like on the ground floor, like not just artists, but like people who don't know how comic shops work, it really annoys me because I just think like you only have part of the picture, and you don't understand like what the overall effect is and the people that are affected. So we might do that, but I do want to definitely do other old comics and trades. Talk about that. I don't want to just talk about things that upset us in the industry. I'd like to keep it informative but kind of fun. And, whenever you and I can do this, and if anybody, we have friends in the comic book industry, if they want to come on, because I can do Google Hangouts as long as they've got a webcam.
We could definitely bring in some friends. Maybe we can even do our own version of a drink and draw.
I mean, I don't drink or draw, but I'm happy to, like, if you want to... Wait, what?
I never stopped you before showing up for those.
That's true. But, all right, Travis.
It's been fun, man.
Yeah, no, this has been good, and I can't wait to put these out. So, if you get a chance, check out, look up Arc World, and the Hourglass is what you're working on right now.
Yep, Devil's Due is publishing Arc World, and that's actually a prestige format style book. Not in terms of size we're talking about with the Black Label, but in terms of it being 48 pages. I think the price point for the normal cover is around $8, and then the certain shops will have some variants as well. And then Hourglass is a normal 20-page comic that's going to be coming out to tie in with Full Moon releasing the Hourglass movie, I believe.
Awesome. You didn't sign an NDA or anything, did you?
Oh, well, I mean, no, I didn't. Nothing about that. It's not going to give anything away.
I was just thinking about that, but all right, Travis. Well,
not give anything away.
Well, thank you very much, and see you soon.
All right, see ya.